Hello, teachers. Welcome to Para Maestros podcast. This is the English version. Para Maestros means for teachers only. Here we will talk about education, everything related with our profession, from the perspective of Latin America and from the perspective of other teachers from around the world. We will have opinions, interviews, and lots of information about education, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, teachers. Welcome to the new episode of Para Maestros podcast. This is the English version, and I'm Carolina, and with me is Juan. Hello, Juan. How are you?
Hi, Carolina. I am good. It's a pleasure to be here in your podcast.
Oh, thank you for coming again. Well, this episode, we're going to have two goals, two main objectives, as we are teachers always. First of all, motivate teachers to have English as a second language, just to lose the fear and to start doing and creating content in English. And the other objective or the other goal is to share our knowledge and expertise and experiences in the classrooms and also in our second language.
And especially to overcome the fear of speaking English.
Yeah, speaking English with the time, with time, with time. So that's right. Well, Juan, we're going to talk about something very serious today and very interesting also. And we know it's not a secret that the world today is turbulent, that I think it's more than usual. What do you think?
I agree. It seems humanity always seeks to surpass itself. We have completed 2 years of war between Russia and Ukraine, and now a terrible conflict between Israel and Palestine. Not to mention, as some experts say, that we are probably to the brink of a new global scale war.
Yeah, that's very sad.
World War III,
Yeah, well,
the Third World War.
hopefully that it doesn't happen, but it seems like every time you see the news, it's like something worse happening, something else happening,
Mm.
something else happening. It's so overwhelming. But besides that, besides the historical or geopolitical causes of conflicts, there is an educational cause. And I believe that we who are adults now, we were never taught how to resolve our daily conflicts in a peaceful way. As children, we were always being beneath adults. Our voices when we were children were not heard and were not important, and still happens today. So punishment was always prevailed in education and when the mistakes were made. What are your thoughts on that?
That's right, Carolina. That's why today's episode we are going to talk about a topic that is not only fascinating but also very relevant to the events that we are experiencing.
Yeah,
And
it's
we will discuss restorative justice.
restorative justice and how that is educational. So yes, it is a interesting topic and maybe not common, and maybe some people have heard about it, some people haven't, and how that come to the classrooms, how it can be useful in our classrooms. What's restorative justice? Well, after the research we've done a little bit on the topic, we found out that restorative justice was emerged first in New Zealand in the 70s based on the indigenous tradition of the Maori culture. This perspective focus this perspective, sorry, it focuses on repairing the harm rather than the punitive punishment. That is, when someone commits an offense or harm another person in the community, the aim is for the victim or the offended person to be repaired, minimizing the chances of the offender to be reoffended and the repetition of the situation. So it sounds like a straightforward practice, but in reality, it's not as we think. It's
It's
very
not easy.
difficult, right? What do you think?
That's right, Carolina. Restorative justice has been used quite successfully in a complex conflict such as apartheid in South Africa. For example, they managed to get the perpetrators to make their victims apologize and work in the affected communities in somehow to repair the harm they caused. This form of justice has also been successfully used with young offenders who have committed crimes. For instance, in Netherlands, implemented a restorative justice model for its juvenile justice system, which involves a youth conference where the young offenders uh, is offered different options to repair the harm. That's basically that they
They
use in
implemented.
that moment.
But it's very difficult, do you think?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, but it was doing in a good way in that moment.
So I agree. In schools, it's usually adults. You know, we know that I'm a teacher, you're a teacher. We know that in schools, we are the ones who decides what's happening. You know, we are the ones who decides what to do with students who commits an offense. The rules are clearly defined, and the punishments are also clearly defined. But we believe that that is not working so far as we see the world, how it happens now, what is happening now in the world. And I think I strongly believe that we have to stop thinking in the small space of the school. That
Mhm.
is what happened, because what happened is that many of the students are kicked out of the schools, and people think, oh, done. But that person is going away, and that person is going to be a part of the community, and we have to start thinking that the school is just a little bit of their lives, and they were going to go their lives, and they're going to go and do things, good things or bad things, we don't know. And we usually just kick them out or just give them punishment, or those are the two options that students have in school. But there's another option that could be a dialogue. We can start speaking to them, start realizing what's happening in their lives, so we can have a better model to help the students. What do you think?
Yes, and have a different approach uh, to solve problems and to solve the daily problems that we have in the classroom and we have in the school, and how we are going to impose punishment. In other words, that justice model in the school is more similar to a criminal court and not to find a restorative justice.
It's
That's
true, it's
basically
true.
what we usually do every single day in the school,
It's
every day.
true. It's true. It's true.
And okay, Carolina, and what has been your experience with this issue in the United States and China?
Well, I think it's the same everywhere. So far as I've in my experience as a teacher in a primary school, I've seen the same. The rules are
Mm-hmm.
clear. If you break the rule, you're punished, and if you're punished so many times, you're gonna be kicked out of the schools if you can. Some schools, in public schools, you cannot kick out kids, but there's a punishment all the time to this. Punishment, punishment, punishment. Sometimes counselors come and then talk to them and try to address the situation, but there is a limitation for us teachers like this, because we're not trained. We're not trained to do things
Mm-hmm.
that differently, and then there's a limitation to us. And it's happened same here in China. You see less behavior issues, but they are, and the situation is the same. You adjust or you adjust. That's basically what it is. So lately, I was like, because I was like, this is not like what I like in some sort of sense, I would say. So
Mm-hmm.
I was started reading this book that I really like it, and the name of the book is Better Than Carrots and Sticks. It's about restorative practices for a positive classroom management, and it was
Mm-hmm.
written by Dominic Smith, Douglas Fisher, and Nancy Frey. And one of the things that I like about this school is when they started with one impressive and important sentence or quote that I felt like, oh, this is really true. And the quote is by Frederick Douglass, and it says, "It's easy to build strong children than to repair broken men." So
Mm-hmm.
when they start with that, you're like, oh, right. So what do we do? We have them little, we have these kids. Well, how can we help them? And one of the principles of this book is telling us that the children that cannot behave in the classroom is not because, wait, let me rephrase that. The children that can behave in the classroom is not because they are being punished or they are being rewarded. It's because they
Mm-hmm.
can. They have the ability to do it.
That's right. Yes.
And the children that cannot do it is because they really cannot do it. No matter how
Mm-hmm.
many rewards or how many punishment you give them, they don't really have the skills. So they approach this new system that they call Plan B. And this Plan B refers to the students as a human being who is not taught how to behave in certain settings. So they don't know how to manage their emotions. They don't know how to deal with situations. They don't really know. So they have this Plan B implemented, and they
Mm-hmm.
started little by little. No, one classroom, then one school, then one district. But it takes a little while because we as teachers and principals and everyone, we have to change the way we see these students,
Yes.
the way
It's just
we
what
see them.
it's just as a teacher, it's just what we have to look for or find in the students.
Yeah, so I started to implement some of the strategies as because they said we can start from the little ones, you know. So I
Mm-hmm.
have students that are very defiant, they're very could be, you know, a bit sometimes aggressive and sometimes, you know, very, you know, testing the teacher, the type of student. And I was like, well, should I just approach them like, you know, you don't do this, da 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 da, or just talk to them? So I
Mm-hmm.
remember one time I just sat with one of my students. I said, okay, I've noticed this. I want to hear from you. How can we help you? Do you need something from me? What is it that triggers this behavior? And we start negotiations. And I did a negotiation with him. So what is it? And he said, I don't know, because he's little, you know, I don't know. So I start giving him some ideas. Is it the task is too difficult? Is it because you don't understand me? What is it? And then he's like, no, the task is easy, but I don't like to write. It was a writing activity. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I said, okay, what can we do? He said, well, let's not write anymore. And I was like, and I remember the book says, this is a negotiation. It has to work for both of us. You can tell me
Mm-hmm.
I won't write, but it doesn't work for me. So we have a negotiation here. If you don't write anymore, it doesn't work for me. It has to be a middle ground where I am benefit and you benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So we started discussing, and it was a 6-year-old child. And he started giving me ideas. I started giving him ideas. Let's review this. What do you think about this? And then we discuss it. And then we agree on, I'll give you a little lenience. It's going to be an easier activity for you. But with the time, I'm going to increase the challenge. I'm going to increase the difficulty of it. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, okay, but I think he wanted me to hear him. That was after that he was better. He still, you know, it's not like you changed a miracle. No, he still has defiant behaviors. But every time I see something, I said, what do you need? I approach him. What is it? What's happening? Is any
Mm-hmm.
changes? Once I was another student and he lose his mind one day. He throw things on the floor. He was so upset. He was like very angry and very upset. And I was like, what's going on? So I realized when I talked to him, approached him and said, what's happened? What is this about? And he said, I don't like when someone touch my things with their dirty hands. And this
Mm-hmm.
boy did that with my lunchbox, and I don't like it. And I was like, okay,
Yes.
it's okay. But I mean, it's a you know a valid reason. But
Mm-hmm.
how can you react better? What could you do better? So we start analyzing what is the behavior and how can we improve that, the reaction of it. And I realize is this child doesn't know how to do that, how to manage his emotions, how to do use his words instead of his hands, or losing his mind. We have to teach them. I have them little, so I can in my classroom I have so many strategies I can tell you. In
Mm-hmm.
my classroom, I have there. I saw that I think it was on social media. With there is a chair with an ear and a chair with a mouth, and then when there is a conflict, instead of they coming to me and ask me how to solve the problem, I told them, "You solve the problem. Sit down and talk." So they sat in front of each other, and the one is in the mouth, they is allowed to speak, and the one that is in the ear chair has to listen. They cannot talk, and then they switch and they listen
Mm-hmm.
to each other. And my goal is for them to start speaking and say what is wrong, what happens, what are the feelings coming up about the situation. In with little kids, the situation can be little, But as they grow, situations can be bigger. But the conversation is the most important part. And now they love it because I also have a mediator in my classroom. It's a job, and this is a mediator, and this mediator, they volunteer just because they want to be in the middle of the conflict and solving the problem. And I remember that I really like that because I give them it's okay to have conflicts. It's normal. It's part of life. But how do we solve it? So they have to sit and they have to talk and they have to listen. And sometimes just simple mistakes. Oh, I didn't see you when I hit you. I'm sorry. I was passing by. I didn't see you. Things like that. Simple things that could be huge escalated problems if we don't speak about it. And that's also that I learned from my nephew. My nephew is a mediator in his school with a program that is in a public school in Colombia. And he is a mediator. And it's so interesting because I asked him, what do you do? How to tell me because I want to know. And he said, just basically is ask them to talk and have agreements. So ask these two people that come to you, and actually they are training, in the mediators in the public schools in that school. They have to be trained in how to manage conflict, in how to manage emotion, in how to de-escalate problems. But he is 16 years old. So that is, for me, is nice. It's impressive that a 16-year-old can do and manage better problems than any adult. It's, oh my goodness.
That's
But
right.
that's what I read. I haven't seen anyone implementing something like that. I've seen so many now popularity of restorative practices in the classroom, but it's not as big as I wish it was. It's just, let's solve the conflicts. Let's start speaking instead of fighting. Let's start addressing these issues before they become bigger. And well, it's working in my classroom so far. Of course, they still have problems. They still have some fights and stuff, but sometimes they do it just because they want to have this moment of speaking to each other. To
That's
just
right.
have that, just it's funny. But I think it's what I read, and I like the Plan B. They have a system. The Plan B has like a kind of a script that you can follow, and some instructions that you could follow, and it helps for you, especially with teenagers, to navigate their angerness and their well, they don't want to say anything or whatever. You have all those strategies for managing this kind of situation. And also they have examples of students that have really, really bad temper and really, really hard situation, difficult to manage. And how do they react, and how some of them just run away because they want to run. They can't control themselves. So teaching them that as addressing these behaviors as well as we address the learning problems. When we have a student that can learn fast enough, we have strategies for them. We give them ideas. We give them extra time. We give them some specific word, different things. But we don't do it with behavior. We should. I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it goes into the scope of restorative
No, it's very
justice.
interesting. I I think that the main problem is that we don't have enough time in the classroom for implementing restorative justice or approach with a different model. What is your experience basically in the United States when you have all the time was busy for you in the classroom? How did you do this in the United States?
At that
How was
time,
it?
it was some time ago. I don't want to say time. So some years ago, but at that time, well, I didn't have any information I have now. And I will, approach the Latino way, which is always try to de-escalate. At least in Colombia, we try to de-escalate some places, not everything or not everyone, but de-escalate is one of the most important situations that we can try to do, de-escalate the situation. But I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. So the thing is, like, I think nowadays we prioritize learning and showing the learning, and prioritize testing, then test. We are more than scores and test. We are more than that. And then telling the kids that the test is more important than their feelings, it's not really good. It's not really
Behavior and
cool.
emotions is even more important
Yeah, because we're
than tests.
humans, you know, and then yeah, I think that's a problem in many countries, not just Colombia or the United States, prioritizing
Mhm,
the scores to show that the kids are learning something instead
mhm,
of working on the humanity of them, you know? Let's work in the
mhm,
humanity. Let's work on how to work together, how to be together, how to solve conflicts. These are important things that we need to address. Learning will come. It's not like it won't come. Learning always come because we are ready, our brains are ready for learning. So we're always gonna have the time to learn any language or the time to learn some historical, dates or whatever.
mhm,
That will come and we can still do it. But the time for these situations, we don't pay much attention besides punishment
mhm,
until it's out of hands, until it's out. The student is very difficult to manage. I don't know what to do with him or her. I don't know what to do. So then is when you speak and ask for help. But
mhm.
it's already, you don't know, you don't have the information. And I think teachers should be trained on restorative practices now.
Yes, training, it's very important
Mhm.
because based at the faculty of education, there is
Mhm.
not there is not taught in
I
the
never,
university.
yeah. Well, but my degree was long ago, but I never had that type of training.
Mhm.
So it's good that education is moving a little forward. We are stuck for so many years now. We're moving slowly, but it's moving. Now, um, what about some recommendations, ones for teachers that want to implement restorative approaches to their classes? What do you think?
Okay, something you said that you already said is that have create a space of conversation. Dialogue is very important.
Yeah.
Not only to address the problem, but to seek restorative solutions. That is very important. And to create that culture in the
Hmm.
classroom and to create that culture in the school. It's
Hmm.
not only to, okay, let's see some model or a plan or a script, just as you said, but to seek basically this restorative approach
Yeah, and I
all the
see.
time and to be uh, to to do this all the time, and repeat it
Yes,
and repeat it.
make it a habit.
Make it as a habit. Yes.
Yeah, and also I see that it's important to focus on the victim. And for bullying cases, we have to go and check on the victims and how do they feel and
Mm-hmm.
how they get managed and how can they speak in to the aggressor when sometimes they have to speak to the person who bullied them and understand the reasons behind that aggression and all these things. It's important to work on forgiveness and work on the victim because sometimes we focus on the punishment of the aggressor, but the
Mm-hmm.
victim sometimes, yeah, oh yeah, okay, we believe that giving punishment to somebody is enough for the victim and sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
And so, I think it's not sometimes. I think
Most
always
of
is
the
not
time.
enough.
Yeah. Another recommendation I see is implementing emotional statements.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very useful tool, especially for those working with primary schools like me and children. It's basically consistent and allow boys and girls to express without any fear what they feel and what the feelings they have and what feelings they have to towards others, especially other children and in the conflict. So it helps them to recognize and to understand the empathy and understand different ways to approach their emotions. So now
Mm-hmm.
in my with my class, I also did that, and when they said, "I'm mad," "I'm angry," so I asked them to tell me what they feel. So they said
Mm-hmm.
that, and I said,
And to
and that's
recognize your emotions as well.
exactly, and I said, that's okay, and their face changes right away. That,
Mhm.
it's okay to be angry. Yeah, it's okay. What are we gonna do with that? Okay. So when you say that's okay, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be sad. Sometimes
Mhm.
we have those emotions, but now what can we do? So I teach them how to breathe, breathing exercises and all these things. So for them to calm their brain, because we talk about a lot of the time about the brain and how the brain reacts when you're angry and how the brain reacts when you're sad. So I was like, okay, that's okay. You're angry, you're mad. Okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
What do we do?
It's very
So no,
useful. It's very useful for adults as well.
yeah, and
We-
I heard the other day, I think it was in a TikTok or something, that they said that when you name your emotions,
Mhm.
the brain, the part of the brain that is fired up, calm down, which
Yes.
is the amygdala. The amygdala is a part of the brain
Uh-huh.
that gets crazy. And when you name that emotion, I'm feeling angry, then your amygdala is like, okay,
Because you know
recognize,
what is happening to you.
yeah, and then it calm down.
What are you feeling? That
Exactly.
is
And we don't know, my generation feelings
mhm,
never
was
say,
not
how do
important.
you feel? No way. So it's like, for me, it's quite difficult when I tell my students, okay, it's okay to be mad, but I have to tell that to myself. It's okay to be
Mhm.
mad. You know? So it's something that we have to learn ourselves too. And just we have to be patient. It's not a
It's very important.
process. It's not a
Yes,
process that goes like, mhm.
the restorative approach, it's will take much more time. And to solve the complex situations in the classroom, you won't see immediate results. So you have to be patient, and you have to commit with this approach
Yeah.
and do it and do it and do it again.
Yeah, and I feel like when we talk about the restorative approaches and that they don't go fast enough, I feel like when we see behaviors as part of a learning problem, we will create more strategies for these kids.
Mhm.
We will find the ways. We will talk to their parents. We will see how can we help them. But if we now we address the kids like they're supposed to come this way. They're supposed to come knowing how to behave, knowing how to do this, knowing no, they don't.
Mhm.
They don't. They just have to be kids and they're coming to
Mhm.
school to learn. And I think before that was the main goal, no?
Mhm.
Before, or I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but maybe we had more time to be community instead of focusing on scores and testing and
Mhm.
knowledge. We will
Just
have
to
more
be
time.
humans.
Exactly. And then sometimes we forget that we just need some time. And some students will get it better with time. Some students' family situations don't allow them to be better. They have no good role models. So we have to kind of be theirs. So
Mhm.
yeah, it takes time and patience and you to also, when you're angry, name your emotions. I know if you're a teacher and you're upset at something, name it. I'm upset
Mhm.
because this and
Oh,
this and this. And give yourself that time to be upset, but and don't lose your mind for a student because sometimes it happens. You're so upset and you start losing it and selling students or yelling at students, and then that's not really working. It's not gonna help. So yeah, I feel like it's very important for us to also learn how to be more patient. And no, but we are patient. Teachers are quite patient. I don't know
no,
what would
how to
be.
manage our own emotions, basically.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, balance it. Yeah, yeah. That's. I think this is an interesting topic. We could keep
Very
talking.
interesting.
We can talk for ages about this. It's so interesting and have more experience. And if you teachers have experiences with restorative justice or restorative practices in the classroom, please
Or any
comment.
plan B that you have in your
Any
classroom, that
plan
you have
B in your
implemented.
classroom, yeah, just tell us. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear all these things that you've done at home. At home, because you love it. We would love to hear all the things you've done at your schools or at your classroom. Sometimes nobody
Mhm.
sees us. Nobody sees what we're doing. It's nice to hear. It's nice to hear. So teachers, thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
Juan, thank you for this very nice, insightful episode of Para Maestros English version. And well,
Mhm.
teachers, please and give us some ideas and subscribe and share. Okay, so we will reach more people. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, teachers. Stay curious. Connect with me on social media and explore my website. All the links in the description below.